Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Dharma family service here in the last weekend of March. We'd like to begin with Sutra chanting, and today we'll chant Juseige, and we will have the words on the screen. Namandam, 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 namandam. Kagon chosegan Hishimu jodo Shigan fumanzok Seifu joshogak Gaomun yokom Fui dai seshu Fusai shobingu Seifu joshogak Gashi jobutsudo Myosho chojippo Kukyomi shomon Seifu joshogak Ryokujin shonen Joeshu bongyo Shigumu jodo Isho tenin Jinniki endai ko Fushomu saido Shoujo sankumyo Kosai shuyakunam Kai ichi egen Meshi komoam Heisoku shoakudo Tsudatsu zen shumon Kosojo manzok Iyo no jippo
Nichigatsu Shujuki
Tenko Pugem Ishukai Hozo Koseku Dokuho Jodai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Butsu Gusoku Shutoku Hom Ganne Shitsujomam Tokui Sangayo Nyobu Mugechi Tsudatsumi Fusho Ganga Kuenik Toshi Sai Shoson Shiganya Koka Daisen Okando Koku Shotenin Touchin Myoke Namandabu 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 Ganni shikudoku Byodo seisai Dohoten bodai shin An Da Ko. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, next we will recite the three treasures. And once again, we'll put it up on the screen. The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Give me a second here. Today, you know what? Let's see. You know what it is? It's the last Sunday in March. And so all this month, I've been talking about, because it is the third month, and that's, sometimes we write like three. Today is what? Is today the 28th or 29th? It's 28th. So today's 3, 28, 21, right? And so I was just kind of thinking, let's think about the different threes, groups of threes that we have in Buddhism. And so let's review. We've done this all month. We did first the three treasures. That was the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, like we just recited. For that one, we kind of went back to the beginning. So I wore my black training wagesa, the robe, right, that I wear around my neck. And then the next one we did was the 3 times, past, present, and future. And so for that one, I wore a very special wagesa, kind of blue and purple one that was given to me by Reverend Seigen Yamaoka, who was my teacher. And he gave it way back when I was a student, like 20 years ago. So I was thinking about the past, right? And also had kind of, moved up in the ranks maybe a little bit. Then last week we had Ohigan. So of course we talked about the 6 paramitas, which is Grandpa delivers pizza every Monday and Wednesday. If you want to know what those stand for, watch last week's video. And then the 3 poisons, right, of greed, anger, and ignorance. And then kind of all year, I'm also thinking about the 3 Bs, right, which I came up with, which is to be aware, be kind, and be yourself. Right. So there's a lot of 3s there. Huh? I mean, 6 is 3 times 2, right? But or 3 plus 3. But Buddhism loves lists, and there've been lists maybe since almost the very beginning, right? And Buddha taught a lot of different things. And so one thing that early Buddhists did was they compiled these lists so that they could kind of keep track. Right? They're called matrika in Sanskrit. So there is this kind of idea of lists and kind of these numbered lists. So this is the last one. So I thought I'm going to keep going. And so today I want to talk about a really important one. I changed my wagesa. Today I'm wearing my Kaikyoshi wagesa. This is the one that when you become officially an overseas minister from Nishihonganji, and I became a BCA minister. So a year or two after I became a minister, I became Kaikyoshi. So I'm wearing my Kaikyoshi wagesa. I hate it, right? And yet always a student and always kind of going back to the beginning to review and think about things. So these 3 Dharma marks is really important. Okay, here's the first one. You've heard them, I bet, but maybe you haven't heard them quite in this way. Let's see. All things are impermanent. So that's the first one. All things are interconnected. Life is suffering. Nirvana is peace. So the first thing you're going to say is, Sensei, have you forgotten how to count? Right? There's 4. I don't know why. The 3 Dharma marks is the kind of the normal way to hear about it, Samboin. But there's actually 4, and maybe we could do one or the other. And I can talk about that in a little bit. But all things are impermanent. All things are interconnected. Life is suffering, and nirvana is peace. Right? So these marks, it's about all things. Every single thing is marked with impermanence, with interconnectedness, with suffering, and with nirvana and peace. Now, this is actually found in Japanese culture, and there's something called the Iroha no Uta. And on the left, if you can read hiragana, it reads Iroha ni ho he to. But I wrote it in English, but it's actually pronounced Iroha ni oedo chiri nuru o. So this is a poem written in Japanese, and the first 3 letters, Iroha, are how the poem is known, the Iroha poem, or Iroha no Uta. Now you can add in kanji, though. It's actually more than just these alphabet letters. There's kanji. So Irowa nioedo chiri nuru o waga yo tarezo tsune naran ui no okuyama kyo koete asaki yume miji eimo sezu. And what it means, forms are fragrant, or it could be colors are fragrant, but they fade away. In this world of ours, nothing lasts forever. No one lives forever. Today, cross the high mountain of life's delusions, and there will be no more shallow dreaming, no more drunkenness. So this is a really important poem from Japanese culture that goes back like 1,000 years. And we can find those 4 Dharma marks, or 3 Dharma marks plus 1 here. Forms or colors are fragrant. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if it's about cherry blossoms. Maybe my color, my screen has kind of cherry blossom color, right? And now in Japan, soon is going to be cherry blossom time, right? And the thing with the cherry blossoms, they're so beautiful, but they fade, they fall. In this world of ours, nothing lasts forever. No one lives forever. Is kind of related to interconnectedness. That one's a little more difficult. Life is suffering, and then nirvana is peace, right? So the shallow dreaming, let the mountain of life's delusions, right? But we can cross over it, right? So the shallow dreaming and the life's delusions are the suffering of samsara. The peace of nirvana, we can cross over those mountains, right? We can not be drunk on the 3 poisons, not be just dreaming these shallow, meaningless dreams, but instead finding the peace of nirvana. So the reason why this is a really interesting poem is because it's a pangram. And I had to look this up. But has anyone ever heard of a pangram? A pangram is a phrase that uses every letter of the alphabet. So we have one in English. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Right? Totally different than the Iroha no Uta. Right? The Iroha no Uta expresses these deep Buddhist truths. Our pangram, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Right? And you've probably heard this expression, but if you didn't know what it was, it uses every letter in the English alphabet. It doesn't use them once. There's lots of O's. I don't think we could do one without using them, using each one only once. That's the neat thing about the Iroha poem too, is that it uses each hiragana once. The English one, it uses multiples for some of them. I read something, this was what they would use to check typewriters. You would type this to make sure every key worked. And when they set up some like line between the United States and Russia in the 50s or something, like a computer line, the first transmission was the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And the message back from Russia was, What do you mean the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog? What are you talking about? They didn't realize it doesn't mean anything. It's just something to test every key and make sure that you every key works. So people still use this apparently to check their computer keyboards, right? So this pangram, right? This is a pangram too. And if you went through, now if you learn Japanese, you learn a, I, u, e, o, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, sashi, su, se, so. But up until 20th century, Japanese people learned the alphabet with I, ro, ha, ni, ho, he, to, chi, ri, nu, ru, o. And if you went in, you would find here's a down in the bottom left, I is the first one, u is here, right? And so a, I, u, e, o, you can find each one once. It's really amazing. What an amazing poem. And the fact that the pangram is this expression of the four Dharma marks. And I even have a furoshiki that has I, ro, ha, ni, ho, he, to, chi, ri, nu, ru, o. Right? It's the kind of that cloth that they use in Japan. And this one has the Iroha poem on it. Isn't that neat? So the Iroha poem, and they even use it to count. You know how we go 1, 2, 3, maybe with Roman numerals, or capital A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3 with Arabic numerals. In Japan, in some older books, they use Iroha to do 1, 2, 3. It's kind of neat. So anyway, getting back to it, if we think about the first one, all things are impermanent. One example is from the Hojo-ki, from 12th century, 12th, 13th century by Kamo no Chome. There's a famous poem that opens up this work. The flowing water never stops, and yet the water never stays the same. Foam floats upon the pools, scattering, reforming, never lingering long. So it is with humanity and all its dwelling places here on earth. So this wonderful image of, you can look at a river and you think, yeah, it's a river. I'll come back tomorrow. It's still the same river, but the water is always different. Right? And so even though things seem permanent, they're actually always changing. Right? And so the next one, foam floats upon the pool, scattering, reforming, never lingering long. So those little places where the water swirls around and foam comes up, but then the bubbles pop and it disappears. Right? So we have these ideas of change, but also impermanence in the sense that nothing lasts forever. No one lives forever. Right? So it is with humankind and all of humanity's dwelling places here on earth. So this idea of impermanence, I think, is deeply permeates Japanese culture. I don't know if it does now, but certainly in the past, the cherry blossoms, another great example, right? That's part of the melancholy beauty of the cherry blossoms. Interconnectedness, kind of maybe harder to illustrate in one way that I thought is it's related to a person. Who am I? I've been asking this question as part of Be Yourself, right? Who am I? Right? And so most of the time I think, well, I'm Harry, I'm this or I'm that, right? But the important way is that who I am depends on others. So I'm a son to my parents. I'm a husband to my wife. I'm a bassist to my bandmates. And I'm a minister to my Sangha. Right? I'm all these things. And maybe one way I could say, well, I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm a bassist, I'm a minister. But the important part in Buddhism is I'm a son because of my parents. And actually, I'm an only child. So I made Harry and Sadako, my parents, Harry Jr. and Sadako, into parents when I was born. Right? So not only do they make me what I am, I make them what they are. And even though they're gone, they passed away 20 years ago, but they're still my parents, right? Because of this relationship. So, it can go backwards too, right? And we can think about it in all different kinds of ways. Even, a lot of times like with sports, right? And you're on a team. So I put bassist to my bandmates, but in one sense, you're whatever position you play because of the rest of the team, but you're also a team because of the opposing team, right? Normally we think the other team's the enemy. We want to beat them. But if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even have a game to play. So by thinking in this way, this interconnected way, maybe we can see things differently, right? It's not always centered on myself, right? And that I realize, oh, I don't exist in a vacuum. I exist with all these other people, with all these other things around me, and I only exist in context of those. Life is suffering, right? First of the Four Noble Truths, and I realize I don't talk about Four Noble Truths that much. Maybe I should. Fourth month is coming up next month. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to take a look. But here, right, we can realize that all things, right, life is a bumpy road. Life can be a bumpy road, as Reverend Dr. Kenneth Tanaka has said. Things don't always go the way we want, right? As Reverend Seigen Yamaoka has taught, as I learned from Sensei, right? This suffering is caused by ignorance, desire, right? And so maybe when we don't realize, maybe that's why all things are impermanent, right? And there's one version that says all things are impermanent, all things are suffering. But it's when we don't realize that things are impermanent that we suffer. When we're ignorant of the truths that Buddha awakened to is when we suffer. When we're caught up in the three poisons, like ignorance, desire, and anger, right, that we suffer. And at the same time, I jumped ahead a little bit there, nirvana is peace. There's more to life than just samsara. There's more to life than the three poisons, just the three poisons, right? Of greed, anger, and ignorance. Saying Namo Amida Butsu can help remind us of this, right? A lot of times we get stuck, right? We get stuck in the three poisons. We get stuck in a self-centered view, right? And so by reciting Namo Amida Butsu is one way that the truth, the Dharma comes to us, right? One way that Amida Buddha breaks through that ego shell, right? That self-centeredness and helps us remember the peace of nirvana, gives us the potential of peace of nirvana instead of just scurrying around, always worried, always thinking, what's next? What do I have to do next? Oh, I can't do it. All these things that we have, all these worries that we have, right? They're important, but maybe we don't see them the way they really are. Maybe by realizing there's also this peace of nirvana, we can see them from a different perspective. So that's the 3 or 4 Dharma marks. So maybe we can say, when you don't realize that life is suffering and that all things are interconnected, no, I'm sorry, all things are impermanent, all things are connected, that's when we suffer. When we realize, oh yeah, change is part of life. Oh yeah, it's always changing. And this is, life, death is a part of life, right? And that oh, it's not just about me. I'm connected to everything. Maybe that's when we begin to get a taste of the peace of nirvana. Right? So this teaching is really, really important and wonderful and something to reflect on in our daily lives. Can I do one more real quick while I got you, while it's still the 3rd month, right? I want to just introduce you to this one that I have mentioned before. It's called The Three Natures of the Mind-Only School. And I'm kind of, what do you want to call it? Foreshadowing next week a little bit. Okay, so this is really high level, and it's something that I've tried to study for like 10 years now, since I've been a teacher, and I finally feel like I got it this past couple weeks, a month or two that I've been teaching my class at Institute of Buddhist Studies on the 7 Masters. So Vasubandhu is the 2nd master of Jodo Shinshu, and he is one of the people who taught this idea of the 3 natures. So the previous one was that everything is impermanent, everything is interconnected. Everything has a samsaric aspect, but also is free in nirvana. This is another way to look at things. So everything has an imagined nature. Everything has other dependent nature. And everything has the perfected nature. So this is really kind of difficult, but I think it's also kind of cool. The imagined nature is the way we see things normally, and it's not the way they really are. It's affected by me. It's affected by my consciousness, right? It's affected by my upbringing, by the traumas I've gone through, by the way my brain is wired and my chemistry, right? My karma, if we want to go in that direction, right? That I see things, but not as they are. I see them in a very specific way, specific to me. The other dependent nature acknowledges that nothing exists in and of itself. It's kind of like I said about interconnectedness, right? That things only exist in relation to other things. And so this thing that I see out there and that I really hate, actually, that hate that I have is because of me. We're connected. It's not something out there that's by itself. The emotions that I feel about it are directly related to my experience. The perfected nature is ultimately, it's all one, non-dual. It's all Buddha. It's the Pure Land everywhere. Right? That's the view from the awakened perspective, right? That's the view. If you could become a Buddha and be awakened, you would realize that it's all one. There's no me and you, this and that, up and down, like, dislike, all those distinctions that we make, non-dual from the enlightened perspective. But as an unenlightened person, I see things usually with their imagined nature, right? I'm seeing an imaginary picture. It's not the real thing. It's kind of like you looking at me now, right? Me waving my hands on the screen and here I am, right? Is that me you see right there? No, it's kind of an image. Well, everything is like that from this teaching. Everything has an imagined nature. We think we know a lot of times. We think we know the way things are. This school of Buddhism says, no way. You only see something based on your own perception, limited perception, and based on your karma and your experiences. Right? So I was kind of trying to think, what's an example of this? And I thought of my parents. Right? And so one way that I've perceived my parents when I was much younger was basically I used to kind of think they were like gods. Right? Like I couldn't, even though I wasn't always happy with what they said, it seemed like there was just something given about it. Like that it was just, that's them and they're right and they know everything. Right? That was me. That was my perception of them. Right? Later on, much later on, I've realized, oh, wow, they were just regular people like you or me. Me certainly that has no clue what's going on very often, right? I don't have kids, so I haven't had to go through that, right? But they didn't have a book to raise me by, right? They were just doing their best, stumbling along, but doing their best, but also influenced by their own experiences and traumas and all those different aspects. The other dependent nature is that they're parents because of me. And that's kind of like what I talked about before, right? I'm a son because of them, right? That my nature is other dependent. Their nature is other dependent. It depends on others to truly understand. And then perfected nature, I can't really do that. I see things in that way. Ultimately, we're not separate, right? Ultimately, they're part of the oneness of true reality. So actually, they're still with me. Right? I don't see that. In the samsaric world, they've passed away over 20 years ago, right? And so they're gone. But from this perspective, no, they're part of the oneness of Buddha reality. Right? And so they're still with me. The reason I'm kind of talking about this is because it's really, I think, important to think about, how do I see things? Right? I think often we take for granted, I see things the way they are and I'm right and I know. But this says, well, maybe not. Maybe we should look a little bit and see, what role am I playing in this situation? I actually got mad at someone recently. Not mad, but I was kind of mad. And it was online. It was Zoom meetings, right? And so I got mad at this person. I don't think I showed it during the meeting, but afterwards I thought, I got to write an email and I got to tell them. I still haven't written the email, and I'm kind of glad, because a week or two later, I was thinking about it and I realized the thing that I got mad about, I do the same thing in a different way, but I can be similar. Right? And that was shocking in a way, because I don't want to be like that. But then I also realized, but I am. Right? And that is a part of me. So my feeling about this person is related to myself. It's not just them, it's me. And maybe the reason it ticks me off is because I see it in me too and don't want to. Right? So a lot of times when we get really mad, or something really pushes our buttons, rather than judge and throw anger and invective at the thing or person that's upsetting us, look within. Right? Look within and see, can I see something in myself that is being mirrored there? And so basically, my viewpoint affects how I see things. This is really important Buddhist teaching. My viewpoint affects how I see the world, how I perceive things. I don't perceive things as they are. So next week, our guest speaker is going to address this in a very different way. But that's kind of why I wanted, I know it's a lot. The three aspects, right? Impermanence, interconnectedness, these kind of two viewpoints, samsara or nirvana, right? But then also this imagined nature, right? That what I see is not necessarily the way it really is. It's affected by me, and I'm part of what I see, the other dependent nature. Okay? But then also this perfected nature, the oneness of all things. I feel like that's also partly why I think racism is wrong, because racism divides people up and says, oh, you're like this, but you're like that. You're not like me. I'm better, right? My race is better than your race, right? And that this is a viewpoint, this is a belief that's gaining traction once again and again and again, right? Cultures think we're the best and you're not as good and you should do our bidding or you should get out of here or whatever. And violence against you is okay. Right? I think this understanding of the perfected nature, right, that ultimately all things are one, right? Ultimately, all things partake of this Buddha reality is maybe one way we can look at that. If I just say racism is wrong, someone else will say, well, I disagree with you. I think it's right. And I think I'm right to be racist. Right? So how can I critique that? And it's not easy. But I feel like maybe this is part of a possible answer, right? That a lot of times what we see is not the way things really are. We're mistaken. Actually, we're all connected, and actually, we're all one, right? The imagined nature, the mistake, the other dependent nature, that we're in this together. We're connected. We're all part of this interconnected reality. And that ultimately it's non-dual. We're all one. We're all part. We're the same family. So thank you all very much. I know it was kind of a lot. It's the last one in the month, so I had a lot on my mind to get out. But I think that the three marks, the three Dharma marks, is a really wonderful one to remind us of impermanence and interconnectedness. But then also this three natures is another important Buddhist teaching to help us how we see the world around us and each other. So why don't we conclude with Kansho? All things are impermanent. All things are interconnected. When we don't realize this, we experience suffering. If we can realize this, we can experience the peace of nirvana. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namam Dam. Namam Dam. Okay, thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Hondo for announcements.
Hello. Thank you, Sensei, for your Dharma message. It was very moving. I will share my screen here. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. So today we're going to try something a little different, and I think it'll be nice for variety's sake too. I'm going to go through my announcements, and then at the very end, I'll ask if any of you all would like to share anything, and we'll try the raised hand button so we can kind of go around and spotlight people if they have anything they would like to contribute or any announcements they would like to share as well. So with that said, I will start my announcements here. So some upcoming events at the BCA Center for Buddhist Education, some online events on April 3rd from 11 to 12:15 p.m. We have the Innovations and Challenges with Taiko online. We'll be featuring short presentations by 4 Taiko leaders from Buddhist temples, followed up by an open forum to exchange ideas. On the 10th, from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we have Socially Engaged Buddhism, Jodo Shinshu Perspectives, featuring Professor Dake and Reverend Kuwahara discussing how we can apply the idea of socially engaged Buddhism to a Jodo Shinshu life guided by the Nembutsu. And we also have on the 17th next month, from 11 to 1 p.m., it's titled Three Bishops, What is the Future of Buddhism in the West? And this will be featuring Reverend Eric Matsumoto, Reverend Marvin Harada, and Reverend Tatsuya Aoki. Other upcoming events, we have the final date for the Ainu, Okinawa, and Indigeneity series put on by the University of British Columbia. This is taking place on the 29th, which is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Is titled Rethinking Okinawan Indigeneity, Articulation and Activism, and it is featuring Dr. Megumi Chibana. Registration is at this link below. We'll post the links in the chat box when I'm through here. Also, May 15th from 2 to 4 p.m., the next Life Enrichment program, we are featuring Chensing Han, the author of Be the Refuge, Raising the Voices of Asian American Buddhists, and she'll be in conversation with BCO member Dr. Funi Su from San Jose State University. Actually stayed up kind of late making this flyer. I'm going to scroll over to it and share it. Here we are. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting better at these flyers. Anyway, maybe not. Anyway, so it's going to be an online Zoom event. It'll be on Saturday, May 15th, like I mentioned, from 2 to 4. And the registration link is up on the BCO website right now. I would, encourage everyone to go check it out. I'll post the registration link in the chat box as well. Very excited about this program. I feel like this book is really a big part of kind of a historic moment for not just Asian American Buddhists, but I think for American Buddhists in general. So anyway, I hope to see you all there. Let's see, where was I? Okay, next up, I just wanted to remind folks that the BDD, STL, FD, workshop, Right Effort, Making Our Classrooms Anti-Racist Environments is online on YouTube. And the link is here. We'll post that in the chat box as well. I highly recommend checking that out, as these are very important issues that we face today. And lastly, some events going on. So as many of you know, next week we will be holding our Hanamatsuri service on April 4th at 10 a.m. So the bento orders are now closed, but don't forget to pick up your orders. The drive-through pickup will be on April 3rd. So it says 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., but maybe showing up closer to noon would be a better idea, just so everyone can kind of get set up. We don't want there to be sort of a bottleneck situation where we're still kind of getting the meals together. So I would recommend showing up like maybe 12 to 2 p.m. at BCO for the drive-through pickup. And also on April 18th, we will be having our Pets Memorial Service. If you'd like a card for your pet, please complete the form in the Bushin or contact the BCO office by March 26th, which passed.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll be able to accommodate.
Okay. Well, hopefully anyone who was interested was able to to reach out by the 26th. And last but certainly not least, don't forget to watch the documentary about photojournalist and special guest speaker at the BCA National Council meeting, Regina H. Boone's inspiring journey uncovering the truth about her grandfather, who was incarcerated during World War II, and he then disappeared, never to return home. It is available for free on the NHK website only until the end of this month. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, I highly recommend checking it out. Here's the link, but we'll post that in the chat box as well. And that's it for me. I think Sensei had an announcement, so we'll go back to Sensei, and then we'll come back to me just in case anyone has anything else they'd like to share. So thank you, everyone.
Hello, everybody. I'm over here at Incense. If you could spotlight me here. I can't do it because I'm on my phone. Here I am. So here's my my Kaikyoshi Wagisa, just so you know, if you see ministers wearing this one, it's for Kaikyoshi, people who are overseas ministers from Japan. The thing I wanted to announce is our guest speaker for next week is Damien Erskine, and he's a bassist and an educator. And I'm really excited. I've learned a lot from him for playing bass, but a lot of the stuff he says relates to the mind only kind of thing I was talking about, how your viewpoint affects what you see and what you do. But then also that it's not just for bass. Like a lot of what he says has to do with life in a lot of different ways. So it's a little different than usual. It's not a minister, but I think it's still going to be a really nice program. So please join us for that and just keep an eye out for the email. Okay, thanks. Hand it back to Hondo.
Okay, everyone. I just wanted to give you all a chance to raise your hands if you had any announcements or anything that you would like to share. So we'll take a few minutes and see if anybody has anything.
Steve has his hand up.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I wanted to announce that that we're still selling 200 plus club tickets. They're available online, and so you can buy them.
I'm going to make an announcement with church. So I'm going to talk. Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
So you can buy them online. You will receive your tickets from the church office if you want to do it that way. So please consider they're $100 per ticket, and it goes to support the church facilities this year. Thank you.
Lori, go.
Hi, sorry about that. So when you put something in the chat, once we sign off, doesn't that disappear?
Hello.
Lori,
Lori,
so
yeah,
you could,
a lot of things are beyond the website also. I'll post it on the website. On the
Okay,
church
yeah, that's
website.
great. Because I was,
So you could
the other
find
day
almost everything. Yeah.
the other day I was looking for something and I couldn't find it. And so I wasn't able to sign on to whatever it was that was posted.
Okay.
That's why you got to
Lori,
click madly on the links, like at the end of service, and just click on them, click on them, click on them, and bookmark.
Lori, you can also save the chat. And
Oh, okay.
if you go to the bottom, there's 3 dots in that
Right.
To everyone, and you'll see the thing that says save chat, and that'll pop up. That'll save it to your computer or your smartphone, and you'll have all the links saved onto your computer. So you don't have to
Okay.
badly try
Is
to.
that on my phone too? Because I don't see that.
Maybe not in the phone.
Maybe not on the phone, but
Yeah, because I'm at work, so I don't have access to my computer.
yeah. So if you need them, people are saving the chat, and possibly we can forward the text that from a saved message if you want that. That way you can have a copy of it.
Okay. All right. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Hondo, are we all set with announcements?
I think so, unless anyone else had anything else they'd like to share. I think we're all set. Thank you, everyone, and stay healthy and safe, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
So let's have the incense offering now.
No. Get all these chats up.
Namo Amida. Namo Amida. Namo Amida. Namo.
we'll put it back on BCL programs when he's done.
Norm, I
So-
can hear you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Snamanda. Snamanda. Okay. Got to get rid of this echo. We're heading back to home base.
Here I am. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Spotlight. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. We will look forward to seeing you next week on April 4th for our Hanamatsuri service celebrating the birthday of Shakyamuni Buddha. So let's conclude our service with Kansho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody.